Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me with my video blog for polyphonic.org. Hope you're all staying safe and healthy in this wintry weather. I personally love the snow, but it may have gotten to be a bit much lately. And I was actually sick last week, which is it was a lesson to me that I need to take care of my health as much as I do my work. Because almost everyone was telling me to stop coming in to the library because, well, I wasn't doing things very well and I wasn't getting better. So finally, it took just a day off, a proper day off. During which I was still texting and emailing my staff and letting them know what to do. And I finally got better. Still a little sick, but at least it's better. This week is our first concert of the semester on Thursday night, and it promises to be an interesting one. It's actually our visiting assistant director of bands, Ashley Durrell's doctoral recital, and it features works by Charles Ives, William Schumann, H. Edward Reed, and an American composer by the name of Roy Harris, who Mr. Durrell is writing his dissertation on. I admit that before I met Mr. Durrell, I didn't know who Roy Harris was, and he had actually been a major musical figure back in his day. Harris also had a close relationship with the University of Illinois bands, and when the Harding Band Building, which is where our program is housed and where I work, was opened, Harris wrote a piece for the dedication ceremony. And the piece was called Ad Majorem Gloriam Universitatis Illinorum, which roughly translates to the glory of the University of Illinois. A nice low-key title. And after it was performed at the ceremony, it was never performed again. In fact, all that remained of the piece were scores left in his personal archives in California and here at our university. The scores were all of varying editions, too. Some of them were edits that had been made while they're preparing the piece, and another score had edits that Harris had made after the piece, after the performance, and these just had never been performed, though. The one time it has ever performed was at the ceremony. So using these scores as reference, Mr. Durrell has been painstakingly putting together a critical edition of the scores and parts for performance on Thursday night. And this was all from scratch with a lot of educated guessing because there were no existing parts, or so we thought. Last Friday, my colleague Scott Schwartz, who was the archivist for the Center for American Music and Sousa Archives right upstairs, he asked our director of bands, Dr. Linda Morehouse, Mr. Durrell, and I to join him at a branch of our university-wide university archives to look over some file cabinets of material that had been moved there from our building in 1994. And they'd been moved there so the archives could go through it and remove any materials that they thought were of, as they call it, enduring value. And then since they got the materials that they needed out of these file cabinets, then they wanted us to go and look and see if there was anything that we still wanted, or if there's anything that we needed to get rid of or try to find some way to donate, because it's actually technically state property. And when we're taking it out of state property, it's a very long, involved process. Anyhow, so we went to look at these file cabinets, and there was a ton of music, a lot of really old music, a lot of old arrangements and articles and just program clippings and things like that. And wouldn't you know it, just buried under this heap of old and unorganized programs were the presumed lost parts for Ad Majorem. So when Dr. Morehouse pulled out these parts and scores, Mr. Durrell looked both as if he was about to laugh or about to cry. And again, this was Friday afternoon at 4 p.m., and our concert is this Thursday night. So Mr. Durrell, being the gentleman and scholar that he is, took the weekend to re-examine his work all over again in order to be prepared for our rehearsal this afternoon that just happened. And luckily there wasn't much that needed to be changed, and he also got a really interesting little addendum to his whole project out of it, though at the time, admittedly, it probably wasn't that fun for him to realize that all of a sudden here these parts are. So things like this are just one of the reasons why being a librarian can just be so much fun, and it can be so fulfilling. Mr. Durrell and I took the parts and we looked over them together and discussed it a bit, and we're all really excited for his concert this Thursday and to present this piece again in all its well glory. So I hope you join me next time. Maybe I'll do a little follow-up and just see how this whole thing went. And thanks for tuning in, as always. Bye.